Right, first of all, thank you very much to Ross for hosting this evening, the subcommittee who helped me plan it, and the overall Debater Council for a very difficult year, especially a weird one in which I've never actually seen them all in person at the same time, which is an odd one, but there you go. But also a massive thank you to the speakers here tonight for coming along. You don't know how much this means to when politicians come to speak at a university. It really, really makes a difference. So thank you. Tonight will be my final speech at Debater. Sad, yes, but nonetheless happy after a fun 4 years, and especially ending with Earl Marischal speaking in such a prevalent and relevant debate to our times in Scotland and the UK. Firstly, my speech will be laying out the failings of the Scottish government over their time in power, as the role of proposition this evening is to highlight the failures of the Scottish government, the governing party of the day. Mainly, I'll be laying out my summary in what the previous speakers of my side have said. That is one of the big problems of speaking last, but I will be highlighting education, infrastructure, and I'll move on halfway through. Remember, before hearing this next bit, that the SNP have been in power since 2007. Firstly, I, as a student, the student speaker on this side of the House, have no faith in the Scottish government due to their mess in education. I don't need to add much to the previous speakers on proposition because they summed it up exactly. This government does not value education in a country that's produced so many educational greats. We are really letting ourselves down now. Education has been a way to lift so many people out of poverty within our country and worldwide. And the position of free university students, free university for Scottish students, is the exact kind of thing that we should be pushing for. But this government has not put it into early years. Now, I'm born in '98, just after the Blair election, and New Labour policies were really, really helpful for me growing up in London and my friends. But my family in Russia and Lothian, they didn't get that to the same extent as we did back there. It's a massive problem. Yeah, I was lucky. I continue to be shocked at the dismissal of early years education and the overall centralisation of education away from regional councils, language being one of the big factors. It's a betrayal to students and parents and teachers in a year in which they need us so much. Also, I, as the student speaker on this side of the House, have no faith in the Scottish government due to their blatant ignorance surrounding infrastructure in Scotland, where a north and south and a city divide grows more prevalent every time another budget passes Holyrood. This is mainly down to central beltism, which I do think plagues the SNP. And this can be actually seen in the A9, the artery to the Highlands for many. This, whilst being an environmental factor, is an important issue that this government has not taken seriously. Infrastructure should be green, but infrastructure should also stop congestion, accidents, and allow the Highlands and Islands to open up to Scotland. As for too long, anything north of Perth has been dismissed by this government. Further to this, as somebody who doesn't drive, I rely heavily on rail infrastructure to get around Scotland, seeing family in Russia or friends in Edinburgh and Glasgow. It's a sad sense of humour that the SNP have nationalised ScotRail when an election is around the corner. Like many other policies, this government has no interest in helping Scotland until it wants Scotland's help to re-elect it. It's an abuse of power from a sad state of the executive. Finally, I want to dwell on housing. The property ladder all over the UK is obviously clogged up. Sadly, many families are living in flats and can't afford to move to houses due to stagnant wages and the affordability of housing across this country. This could be good news if the SNP do stick to this 100,000 houses by 2032. However, this government has failed on so much, I don't see why we should now put faith in them to go forward when time after time they have proved to fail in the past, as cited every other proposition speaker has stated. This mainly comes from, I think, an austerity model which the SNP have been following because it's been easy to pass it up the chain to Westminster. Now, Westminster's no angel in this situation, but the SNP are playing the same tune. I don't think it's appropriate. Remember what I said before about the failings of this government? I mentioned that the SNP have been in power since 2007. Well, power, going back to its pure root in Latin, patare, means to be able. Surely a government in power would be able to lift children out of poverty. Surely a government in power would be able to invest in the regions properly. Surely a government in power would be able to govern for all of Scotland. rather than have the audacity to lie, point blame, and cover up into its 14th year. Independence is the only goal of this government, and it is not right when there are major issues in its place. Moving on to the second part, why you should have no faith in this government and governments like it, is a bit of a shout out to the history people on the panel tonight. In 1789, there was a very important revolution in the way that we see the modern system of governance and ideology in democratic societies. The French Revolution of 1789 was a bit of a bloody mess in both senses of the words, but it came out with 4 leading ideologies. Liberalism, the idea of freedom from the state to live your life as you only see fit, because it is not for others to judge the way that they live their lives. This has been expressed on the proposition side of the panel tonight, but has been attacked by members of the governing party, the SNP. Egalitarianism came in the collective action and bargaining and changes the way we were governed. This comes in union, fair wages, social security that keeps people from falling on such hard times. This has been expressed by members of the proposition tonight, but has been attacked by the governing party, the SNP. Conservatism, largely a revolution, has had the idea of gradual change smoothly in society and the way that the constitution works. This has been expressed on this side of the House and on the panel tonight, but has been attacked by members of the governing SNP. Now, the revolution also arises in nationalism through devotion to the nation. This is the one I personally fear the most. It's not patriotism, it is nationalism. It thrives on creating the other. This is a big problem. The devaluation of people for their political people being devaluated by fanatics of a political movement is dangerous. Now, I'm not saying side opposition is this at all, but the bedfellows that people make throughout politics is a dangerous one. And I do think that some of the allies, actually this part of the speech is a bit difficult because this all got ruined by Alex Salmon today, but you see what I'm getting at. This idea. Finally, I want to end this speech on a message of hope. Tonight, I believe we as side proposition have explained well why we should have no faith in this Scottish government or a government like this. Hopefully, I've conveyed why you can have no faith in a government like this again. So please do vote whichever way you want to on the 6th of May. But there are other options for us in Scotland that offer hope. And as for hope, as Charles Kennedy said, it requires purpose, and purpose requires direction. And I, for one, don't see direction in this government. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, debater. Good night.